On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
My name is Cedric Redfeather. My Indian name is Apasanamak, which means the Red Feather Man. I'm tribally enrolled on Fort Berthold in North Dakota. I'm a Vietnam vet. I was wounded in Vietnam. I have a Purple Heart Gallantry Cross. I graduated from Minot State University with a BA in art. I went to school in Santa Fe, New Mexico at the Institute of American Indian Arts. I went to school at Savannah College of Art and Design, which I really love art. My whole life and goal was to be an artist. And I got a scholarship at the University of Memphis to work on my master's degree. And it was while in Memphis working on my master's, the spirit man came to me and he said to me, "You're here to do the work, you're not here to paint." So ever since then I've been doing spiritual work, and it's taken me many places across this country, many people I've met, and it's so exciting about doing the spiritual because we're all traveling this road regardless of where we think we're going or who we've been or what religion. We're all journeys and we're all travelers on the same journey. And the more we understand it, we start to recognize and be connected to each individual, that we are all connected. Like, I guess you would call it dots, like little dots put together, we're all connected. And the more you understand that it's easy to love another person, it's almost like common to be generous with another person. And you start to see the difference between light and darkness. You start to see the difference between love and hatred and jealousies and prejudice. And you care for one another. That's my whole goal and my purpose as a turtle priest nowadays. This is the book I have written called Mandan Dreams. And it's a story about my journey of how I got into being a turtle priest, which I didn't want to do in the beginning, which was, it came upon me as the youngest son of a Luptade Mandan to fulfill the prophecies. And this is the story in this book about the Mandans, their history, and some prophecies, and where we're going. The story is about the family, about my brothers. We are 7 brothers who are the dipper in the sky. And I talk about those, and it's in the book. The Fargo Expo, Edge Life Expo in Fargo, it's about metaphysical, holistical health. It's about people being connected. It's about psychics and mediums, tarot card readers, people into matrix energetics. And my point and my purpose of being a part of the expo is I'm a turtle priest, and I'm going to share prophecies with the people. And my talk is going to be about the prophecies. It's going to be about the 7 brothers and the Big Dipper. My family, my mom and dad had 7 boys, and we are the 7 sons of the Big Dipper. We are also connected to the 7 medicine stones. There are 7s in many things in life, in many cultures. For example, in the Bible, they talk about the 7 churches. They talk about, Edgar Casey talks about the 7 ages of a person's spirit and soul. There are 7s in many things in life, 7 dwarfs, you know. There's 7 sisters in the Pedalians, those stars. So I talk about the 7s and the significance of what it means also. Native American spirituality. You cannot label it and categorize it with each tribe because there are over 500 Native American tribes in the USA. And each tribe has their own way or own protocols or cultures or traditions. And yeah, Native American spirituality is old. It's as old as the stones, old as the rocks, old as the trees. And true Native spirituality is being connected with all things at one time, with all the stars, all the stones, all the animals. When you're connected with them, that's when birds talk to you, that's when animals come up to you. And you can walk up to a deer and pet the deer because you're one with all nature. And being one with all nature, you start to respect it, take care of it. We are the children that dance upon grandmother's back. We say that when we dance. And we are part of Mother Earth. She accepts us as her children. And the changes that are happening in the world today don't affect us or bother us because we are her children and she watches us always, as Father Sky watches over us also.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
Death. It's one of the most difficult experiences that we will ever walk through in this physical journey. To be able to come from a place of love instead of a place of pain, if we choose to see it that way. One of the greatest struggles for many people in the death process is knowing what to say. What do you say to someone who has lost their loved one, their beloved, their mother, their sister, their best friend? What do you say? What do you do? How do you respond? These are just some of the questions that people have when somebody has recently died. And these are questions I'll address in my new book, The Love Never Ends, Messages from the Other Side. I began having conscious experiences with the spirit world as a young teenager. I'd felt the spirit world for many years, but I wasn't really aware of what it was, or what it even was that I was feeling, and I didn't even understand it. The experiences were infrequent, and I knew I felt a presence, but beyond that, I didn't have a clue. I believe we are here, on this physical planet, to love and be loved. Period. When our physical body dies, the love lives on. Not only in the memories that we have of our dearly departed ones, but in our day-to-day experiences with their spirit. The love that they have for us is also evident in our everyday life, if we can just learn their new language. For most people, the absolute answer to releasing the fear of death will come when there's complete conviction that life never ends, that love never ends even, that life and love are eternal. In my new book, I will teach you how to release the fears so that you can tap into your own psychic gifts and truly feel your loved ones around you. I'll teach you how to spot the signs that your loved ones are trying to connect with you, the ways that spirit shows up in our lives. I'll help you to discover the messages that spirit is leaving just for you. This is why I no longer fear death, not because I look forward to it, but because I know without a shadow of a doubt that the afterlife exists, that the spirit world is there, just waiting for us to open up and to connect with them. So come along with me as I take your hand and share with you the lessons I've learned from the spirit world. Let's live from the place of love. Let's be willing to ask for and receive the help from the spirit world. It can start today. Are you in? Yes? I'll see you there, where the love never ends.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
Hi, I'm Sunny Dawn Johnston, and I'm a psychic medium. Psychic medium, you may wonder, what is that exactly? Well, a psychic medium is someone who can connect with loved ones that have passed over. And we all do it a little bit differently. So there isn't a right way or a wrong way or just one way. Psychic mediums vary in the way that they receive their information from the spirit world. The way I receive it is different with every client, with every deceased loved one. So I could have a vision with one. I could hear names. I could see the spirit, or they could show me almost like a movie in my mind's eye. A lot of times I feel their experience, like the way they died. I can feel it in my body, or if they had issues with their physical body, or I can oftentimes feel their emotions and how they felt as they were in this physical form. So seeing, hearing, feeling, and knowing. A lot of times I just know, and I don't know why I know or where it comes from. It just pops into my head for no apparent reason. These are the ways I receive my guidance from the spirit world. And so mediums work in all of those different ways. And again, for me, it's just very different every single time. So, how did I get started in mediumship? I got started in mediumship unintentionally at the age of 13. We had a lady, we called her the Lady on the Stairs. And Lady on the Stairs lived on the stairs. And she was someone that my brother and I could both see. I saw her only a couple of times, but I could feel her whenever I went up the stairs, and so could everybody else. So I had that experience. I wasn't scared. It didn't freak me out or anything like that. And then for the next probably 15 years or so, I would have just random experiences here and there where I would feel a spirit around or see a spirit or things like that that sometimes would scare me. And it wasn't until I started doing readings professionally that the mediumship really kicked in high gear. And so when I started doing them professionally, I would have experiences where I was doing a reading, just a psychic reading, and a deceased loved one would show up, and they would give me messages to share with their loved ones, or they would show me the way that they died, or different things that they did in their life, or show me a symbol that the person in front of me might be able to relate to. And at first, I ignored them, and I ignored them because I didn't want people to think I was weird. This was before the media and television had all these different shows on. It was still considered very unusual, and so I was trying to be normal and wasn't, and so I ignored it for a long time, and then finally it was too uncomfortable to not step into what I was meant to do, because I really do believe that this is a big part of my purpose, is helping people be able to connect with the other side. And not because they need to go through me, but even just being able to teach them that they can, and the tools and techniques and ways that they can connect with the other side. Because I believe that if you have a heart connection with someone, you are the very best medium. So you're the best person to connect with that loved one. But sometimes you need a little support, a little guidance, and a little direction to get you there. And so I offer the opportunity to learn how to be able to do it so you can do it for yourself. But sometimes people just need that validation or that stepping stone, and they need to come to get the clarity and to believe or to trust or to know that their loved one is still okay. And then once they have that, they're open then to creating that connection with themselves. Other people often come just to understand the signs that they're getting. They know that Spirit's speaking to them. They know their loved ones are coming through, and they just want to be clear that this message, every time I see a hummingbird, that's the way that they're coming through, and it's very symbolic, and different symbols for different people. So the symbols can be anything from like a hummingbird to a rose, to a dime, to unusual things like particular kind of tobacco scent, or a particular kind of perfume, or it could be a vision of a ladybug, or just so many different things depending on the connection with the person and what was important to them.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
Hello, my name is John DeSalvo, and I want to tell you a little bit about the talk that I'll be giving this year at the Life Expo. The title is Voodoo Magic, Marie Laveau, and American Horror Story. And this is going to be the first time I ever give a talk on this subject. Before I do that, I do want to mention I'm usually noted for my work on Enochian magic, and I've written several books on Enochian magic, published by Inner Traditions, and I've also written several books on ancient mysteries published by Barnes & Noble. So for some reason I got interested in Marie Laveau, the famous voodoo queen of New Orleans in the 19th century, and the more I researched her, I realized what she was doing and what voodoo actually is a form of Enochian magic. But it was hidden under the guise of voodoo because it was a very secret way of doing it. And I feel I've discovered some pioneering ideas in terms of what voodoo really is. And I'm going to be presenting those for the first time. And many of you I know have been watching American Horror Story, one of the most watched TV episodes. And in American Horror Story, the character of Marie Laveau is played. And what is interesting is I have obtained from the Marie Laveau family mansion several voodoo and ritual artifacts, which I will be bringing on to put on display at my booth during the Life Expo. I'll show you a few of them now, and one is, this is known as a vampire crucifix because one of the descendants of Marie Laveau tried to find the last living member of the Templar Order, who she believed was a vampire, and was following him, trying to find him all across Europe. Finally, she found where he lived and broke into his house and took this, which she believed was one of his crucifixes, and he was a vampire. And why a vampire would own a crucifix, I don't know, but most of the things we know about vampires aren't true anyway. This is a ring known as her demon conjuring ring. Whenever the family would conjure demons in their voodoo rituals, they would put this ring on, and this produced a lot of protection for them. In fact, I had an aura picture done with this ring, and I was totally surrounded by a bright yellow golden aura, which I believe signified their energy of protection, which this ring gave off. This, by the way, this voodoo vampire crucifix also gave off one of the most brilliant auras when I had an aura picture taken. And I will have examples of the aura pictures with me when I give my talk. This is a large crystal ball from the Laveau mansion made with a high lead content and a special alchemical process. It was previously owned by a lady known as Samantha, who was the Witch of Galveston. And it produced a lot of visions for her and prophecy. And this is one of my favorite artifacts because I really resonate with it. This gave off the most brilliant multicolored aura in any of the aura photographs. And I'm going to have a lot more artifacts. These are strands of Marie Laveau's hair, and I'll have other objects, a scrying mirror that she wore made of special obsidian. And, you know, I welcome people to come over and look at them, and I can talk a little bit about it. Back to my talk. I am going to really, for the first time, present voodoo as it's never been presented. The real nuts and bolts of it that has never been revealed. I've obtained this from two sources. One is I have over several thousand copies of what's known as a Federal Writers Project from Louisiana. In the 1930s, a government-funded project was instituted because of unemployment of writers, and they hired these unemployed writers to research certain areas, and one of them was Marie Laveau and voodoo. So these researchers were still able to interview people that were quite old that knew Marie Laveau and were at voodoo ceremonies. And I have copies of the original several thousand pages of interviews from the Federal Writers Projects from the 1930s, giving information and details of voodoo ceremonies that most people aren't aware of. Also, I feel I don't consider myself a psychic, a medium, but I'm very sensitive to certain things. And one is I feel Marie's spirit has been around me for the last year and does talk to me and give me messages. So I'm able to sometimes figure out something about her and her work that maybe the average scholar or researcher has not been able to figure out. So the other thing I will be bringing, this is my famous crystal skull, about 5,000 years old, from the Hongshan culture in China. It is the only life-size crystal skull that has been tested scientifically by Scott Walter, who is the host of America on Earth, and has not been shown to be a fake or a modern production. There's every possibility that this is an authentic crystal skull. Every other skull tested, even the Mitchell Hedges, has been shown to be a forgery or a modern reproduction. And this I put it on display, I let people hold it, take pictures of it. I've had hundreds, if not thousands, of psychics hold it and touch it, and they tell me incredible information about it. So that's something to look forward to. If I have time during my talk, I'm noted for my work on Enochian magic, and I would like to maybe tell you a little bit about that and explain how to do that. It wouldn't be a full workshop, but maybe in the last few minutes of my talk, if there's time, we can discuss some of this and I can give you some pointers and guide you in the right direction. Because I've studied the occult for over 30 years, maybe even longer. I tried every technique to open up the heavens, the realms, the higher consciousness, and nothing has worked until I did Enochian magic. And I did it the way which I discovered it from the original Dr. John Dee diaries, which were written 500 years ago when he was the advisor to Queen Elizabeth. And he was talking to the angels, and they gave him the technique or the information for Enochian magic. And most of the magical groups and people who use it embellish it and don't understand the practice and principles of it. But I went back to the original diaries, copies from the British Museum that Dr. John Dee wrote with his own hands, and looked in the margin, looked elsewhere, and came out with a new way of doing this. And I get many emails and letters saying that this was the first thing that opened up the veil for me. First time I did it, it blew open the veil. I was in an altered state of consciousness. And I know that because I used to teach biofeedback. I'm a biophysicist. I taught physiology. I know when my body physiology changes, when my brain waves go to alpha, whatever. I've measured them and I can sense it. This changes your state of consciousness. And I felt the presence of angels. And I felt I was able to communicate with them. And I don't feel I'm very psychic. So I felt if it worked for me, it could work for others. So that's why I wrote the book, and that's why I give the talk. So I hope you come to my talk, and I look forward to meeting you, and come over and visit me at my booth, and I would be more than happy to show you my artifacts. And again, thank you very much.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
I'm good enough. I'm smart enough. And doggone it, people like me.
What you truly believe is in that unconscious part, and your adult defense mechanisms is what stops you from tapping into that.
But the moment we accept that's not real and we get pissed about that and go, oh, I want that, I want real love, then that's the time you put the work in to actually have it.
Our self-love begins to break down from the moment we hear the first negative unconscious message that we should not appreciate ourselves. Oh, I went through daily rituals of being beat up, shoved in lockers, thrown in dumpsters, head flushed in the toilet, sexually abused until I was 13 years old. And home life wasn't any safer because I was blessed with the ability to sing and act and dance, and I discovered that very early on as a kid. That's what kept me alive. What did the Zen Buddhist say to the hot dog vendor in New York? Make me one with everything. Do you think the Dalai Lama goes running up to that father and grabs him by the shoulder and says, "Stop beating that kid before I smack you"? He wouldn't do that. I love when that happens.
So once you acknowledge and allow yourself to feel what you're meant to feel, you'll disempower the blockage and you'll immediately connect to that greatest source of you, and you can use all your gifts to create the life that you want. I give you the ability to see your magnificence and believe in yourself, so you can use your divinely endowed gifts to create the life and fulfill the dreams you want. And you have to understand that you're not believing what you really think you believe.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
Welcome back. Become unstoppable. That is the message from inspirational speaker Vincent Jenna.
Now, Vincent uses his gift as a psychic medium healer to help people find their passion. He's here with us now. So how did you go from being an actor to a psychic healer?
Oh, that's a fabulous story. Mike, when I was younger, I was the one that was tormented either by my peers or at home by mom and dad. I also had the sexual abuse and all of that went on. During my 10-year high school reunion, those kids started to warm up to me, and there was one in particular who was the antagonizer. He was the one that got everybody else to pick on me. Well, he became a really close friend of mine. And at a time of desperation in his life, when we were close, I was trying to help him, and I didn't know how to do that. And it was really a cry for the ability to be able to help people like him, because I knew what it was to be in pain, to hurt. And so it was a Steven Spielberg, Cecil B. DeMille type of movie that happened to me, and I experienced what I learned was a spontaneous awakening. And all these paranormal things started happening to me. Now, at the time, I was a professional actor, okay? All I cared about was getting an Academy Award, a Tony, an Emmy, or something like that, right? So all this spiritual stuff started happening, and things would come into my head, and things I would know, and I was reading people's minds and answering their questions before they would say anything. And then I started seeing dead people, you know. They made the movie from that. But, right? And so this crazy stuff was going on. Now, my wife at the time, she didn't know whether to call the local rabbi, the priest, to have me exercised, or Bellevue to lock me up, because it just wasn't me. But all this information came to me, and after being directed to the right people, I began to realize that my destiny was about ready to change. Wow. And so I became very motivated to help people.
Okay, so let's talk about that. Your whole presentation is called Stop Stopping Yourself and Become Unstoppable. What is that about?
Right. Okay. Well, Lalonda, here is the major problem that people face in the world today. They do not believe what they think they believe. That is the reason why they can't create the lives they want. Now, there are so many people that are out there that are taking all of these wonderful self-help courses. They're going to these conferences. They're doing all of these lectures, workshops, and yet they keep applying these things, and over again they wind up saying it's not working. Just it's not working. I don't understand why. It's because only 2 to 5% of the human mind is in conscious awareness. That means 95 to 98% of the mind is subconscious and unconscious. There is so much stuff packed in that unconscious part. We're unaware of it. We do not create with our conscious minds. We do not manifest. You said earlier about putting out into the universe and creating. Yes, that does happen. But one of the reasons why it doesn't work for people is because you don't do it with this. You do it with this.
So how do you bring that out in them?
Okay, well, first of all, I have to help them recognize what they're truly believing. So most people are walking the world today. When I was becoming a psychotherapist, and I was going to UNC in my undergrad course, I studied a lot about the self in psychology. And you would ask 100 people, are you happy? Are you going after things that, oh yeah, I'm happy. 100 of them would say, oh yeah, absolutely, I'm happy. Then you ask them some deeper questions. Well, okay, so you got everything in your life? No, really, I have have no money. What about relationships? Oh, I'm alone. I don't even know how to keep somebody. Forget it.
So they're lying. They're not
Yes,
happy.
but they don't know that they're doing that. Way down deep is that I call it your I'm not. Your I'm not that you develop from very early on in your life, okay? I'm not good enough, I'm not lovable, I'm not this, I'm not that. So you could be going after that job, that relationship, but what's putting out into the universe truly is your I'm not, saying, yeah, I want to go get a person, I want to get this fabulous job, but your I'm not saying, but I don't deserve it, I don't really want it, I don't really like that, that's not me, I don't know who I am. And that's what's stopping everybody. The moment you get them to recognize what their true belief is, it starts to disempower their I'm not. And they recognize, I mean, we BS ourselves every single day of our lives. You know, when we go to work, and you know, everybody's getting up in the morning, okay, I'm going to go to work, this is going to be great. Some people admit to themselves, oh, I can't stand what I'm doing, I don't want to do that.
But a lot of people are just faking it.
They're faking it. They're faking it. And you can't fake that. Fake it till you make it is something completely different. Faking your life isn't, and you're going to be faced with it eventually.
Well, we're out of time, but VinceandJenna.com, and they can get in touch with you and you can be able to help them out. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thank you for having me
That's actually
here.
pretty fast.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
The best minds of our time are telling us that you and I are living a time unlike any other time in the recorded history, in the 5,000-year recorded history of humankind. They say that never have so many challenges been focused into such a narrow window of time, crises that we must solve within the next 5 to 8 years that forever have the potential to change our lives and our world. My question is, how can we solve those crises until we answer the most fundamental question of all? And that question is also the most ancient. Who are we? Who are we? In my new book, Deep Truth, I'm exploring 4 principles that help us to answer precisely this question. How long have we been in this world? Are we here on purpose, or are we an accident of biology? Is war really our truest nature? These are the kinds of questions that once we understand the true nature of their answer helps us to understand the true nature of ourselves.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.
In the year 2000, I was diagnosed with a condition that surprised me because I believed I had done all the things in my life to lead a healthy and vital and active life. I was told that I had a tumor inside my body that shouldn't be there, and that surgery had to happen immediately. And I listened to what the doctor said to me, and I said, give me a couple of weeks. It was an opportunity for me to go deep within, examine my beliefs, look at all the things that I've learned, all the people that I've studied with, the times in the monasteries of Tibet and the indigenous peoples throughout the world, all of which define a relationship that we have with our bodies. And what I said is, this relationship is true. Now is the time for me to apply this in my life. To make a long story very brief, 2 weeks later, I was in the Mayo Clinic in Jacksonville, Florida, and I actually went into the operating room, and when I woke up, the doctor looked at me and he said, why are you here? He said, what we believed we had to remove from your body does not exist. It no longer exists. And I'm sharing this story with you for a reason. I didn't have to have that experience, but I think it was important for me to have that experience because it taught me that I have the ability to transcend even the darkest moments, the darkest predictions of what others think and believe about me and my body. And because I personally had that experience, I can look at you in the eye, human to human, eye to eye, heart to heart, God to God, and what I can say to you is beyond any doubt, I know that we were born and put onto this earth with the ability to transcend the great crises, the great challenges in our lives, and it begins with us understanding that we are born healing. Some people say that we are born and we begin dying the moment we're born. What I know is that every cell in our body is constantly healing and repairing itself. If we step out of the way and allow our bodies to do what they're designed to do, that's what opens the door to healthy, vital, loving, productive lives. So I'm going to invite you to allow for this possibility in your life if you haven't as well. You can heal your life.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Hardwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event. Hello, my name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Minneapolis Holistic Expo, which is coming up November 1st and 2nd. And today it is my pleasure to interview and discuss topics of the times and topics of the future. Catherine, what has really come across both of our desks and both of our consciousness is, why are we here? That's one. The other item that's really come up and is of great importance to the general public is this Ebola item that's in the news all over it at this time, and which is beautiful. The majority of the American people are concerned, but they're not hyper or neurotic about it and want to fight it. They're just there. Now, my question again is that what do you sense and feel that is a thread that is going through our location, the upper Midwest? Could you share some things with us?
Sure. In regard to disease, is Ebola or?
For the like changing of the times, we both talked that many people will say, why am I here? Why are we here?
Yeah, let's start with that.
Okay.
Because we live in interesting times, and we come. This is my understanding of how this works. We come to the earth deliberately. We come here for all sorts of purposes. So it's, but primarily we come here. What my guides tell me and what I have come to believe is we come here to learn to be joyful in all circumstances. And more of us are coming, and there's getting more and more people in the world, because it's a far more interesting place to live than it was, say, 2,000 or 3,000 years ago. There's just a lot going on. So people ask me all the time, and I've been doing intuitive mystical work for, I don't know, 30, 40 years. People ask me all the time, what's my life's purpose? And what I will say is, in a very broad sort of way, everybody's life purpose is to be joyful no matter where they're at.
That's correct.
And because I just had an email a few days ago from someone who said, why in the world would we come here when we can be in spirit where we're joyful all the time? Why would we come here? And I said, well, that's part of the challenge. We're all adventurers. We're in some fashion, we're all rebels, and we're all crazy people. And we come here because we want to be able to prove to ourselves, perhaps, and to learn that joy can be found anywhere. And so, for some people, they will pick very specific family issues to learn how to be joyful there, or at least attempt to. Other people go to places in the world that are really kind of horrendous, because that's a really, really big challenge. Others, for whatever reason, will take a different or an easier route. So that's a very quick answer to why we're here. My guides tell me coming to Earth is like watching a movie. You know, it's a very, very short thing. And in the life of a spirit, it's a very short time there. And or maybe it's more like taking a roller coaster ride. You know, it seems crazy. But I personally don't like roller coaster rides. But until I look
you
at
like
people.
It steady and smooth at a.
I do. I like it
going up
steady and
gradually?
smooth, and
You're-
yeah, I
that's-
don't particularly want to jump out of airplanes, but some people do. But coming to Earth is the spirit's equivalent of jumping out of an airplane, knowing that that's only just a very, very short part of who we truly are.
You know, you mentioned, or they went, why are we here? And when we discussed that a little bit before we started this, is that there's something called group consciousness. And the belief of this area is group consciousness, like the 100th monkey. You get 1,000, 2,000, 5 million people, and that group consciousness creates our current or present reality. If it creates our present reality, and they have why are we here, would they not make decisions and choices to go in that direction to improve or find themselves? Everything comes from within, why they are here.
Yeah, and we live in a free will universe. It's one of the rules of Earth, is that once you get here, you can forget all about why you came here if you don't want, if you want to, and you can do whatever you want to while you're here. So we do have a group consciousness, but we're not forced into anything, and so yes, I think what's happening right now in the world, and it's very exciting to me, is that if enough people develop intuitive ability, which I see massive amounts of, that it's become far more accepted, and it's become far more common. And I think that's like your 100th monkey thing, where people are learning. But there'll always be people who say, no, I don't want to do that. That's too scary for me. And they have the right. They have the absolute right, because if it's a free will universe, you get to do that.
You know, we could go on, and this we did not discuss, free will. I really have a question that the human race as such has free will because of the structures that have placed around us in the governments, education, certain societies, financial institutions. It seems to limit the free will of the human race, specifically in the Western world, where they do have choices. You go into some of the more unfortunate nations, I'll take Africa as an example, that they don't have choices. Their choices there primarily are, we have to get the food to eat today.
But that's still a choice.
Yep, that's their, and so they look at the other choices, it's not in their vision, but as I said, we could talk 2 hours on that.
We could, yeah.
You agree with that?
I don't agree with. I agree that we have free will. Certainly, people in prison. I mean, are limited options. But even in the most dire of circumstances, people have free will in some fashion. Yeah. And so. I'm not, and people, I know there are people who will argue with me about this one. You know, I don't think there's a karmic fate that we follow that keeps us from being able to change our past. What I think happens, though, is that an awful lot of people try to change other people's paths, and that's where we get into trouble, because the only person we really can change is ourselves. We can influence other people.
That's curious. I answered my own question about you just did in combination. If the individual, what we offer at our events, are willing to set a future of how they can get the answer from within. The answers from within can change our lives, our perceptions, which are the biggest. And that's one thing that Catherine and Echo Bodine are going to discuss as we, in the event, their event on November 1st. Catherine, which brings to my mind is that there seems to be more and newer people in our events thus far in 2014. A younger group is attending, which I'm very, very happy to see. People that are in their 50s and 60s that have always hoo-hooed what we can call a holistic or spiritual movement are coming, looking. Do you have thoughts on that?
Well, we talked a little bit about this, and so I just told you that this is really going to be my last event. That I'm retiring, and
I'll elaborate on that.
Yeah, and yeah, he'll elaborate on my retirement. That'll be interesting here. But in any event, I do think that gradually it has to happen that the younger generation, if it's going to continue to be of interest to anybody, the younger generation will need to be
step forward.
And some of us just need to step back, I guess, at that point too. And that's simply the way that the world operates everywhere. It's an interesting dilemma in our society, that because there are so many people who are still very young, in their 70s and 80s, they don't want to quit working.
You.
Yeah, well, I wasn't going to start talking, not but, no, but I mean, we're not ready to quit working, and yet, it's that's a new social phenomenon, to have people who really are still working, and a lot of younger people who simply aren't getting the chances. So it's there's all sorts of interesting things in this world, aren't there?
Well, thanks, Catherine.
You're welcome.
This is one reason that I started the Edge magazine and doing what I'm doing, is that make available for the general public, all walks of life. There's choices. There's choices. There's a top 10, and then there's 90 more. The belief system that fits you, you're comfortable with, that's what Catherine will talk about, that's what Echo Bodine will talk about, that's what my other speakers will talk about. But let's do one thing. Catherine always said there's a news bulletin, or I wrote the news bulletin, is that this will be her last public speaking event on this coming weekend. And they will be there Saturday, November 1st. And that we have set up an extremely, actually Catherine set up and Echo Bodine set up, you will get a 3x5 card when you arrive. You will write on there the question that you would like to ask, one, both, or the other. And we've never done that before. You will get that at the door. What we will likely find out is that there's going to be 30 or 40 with the same request, maybe even 100 with the same request but a deviation one way or the other. So we are excited about this. I'm very excited. I'm not excited about her deciding to step down, but like she said, there's a time.
There's a time.
When the time is right, you do it. And I think she's a very wise lady, and I have been struggling with speakers in what we do, and leaders and teachers. And it is the new generation, the younger people, not new gen, younger people to me are 50. They are. 40, 30, 20, they're really young. But to step forward and to grab their walking stick, and to help their fellow man, and to really help themselves, and to help us who happen to be a couple years older than they are. What we're really, really looking for, that young male or female to come forward, and it's a heck of a ride. It's the most magnificent time to be on this earth plane, I believe, ever.
I agree. It's a fascinating time, and you have to be able to adjust to things. You have to be able to change.
Yes.
You have to be able to go with the flow, and all those things are. I believe that's why we all came. Is that we wanted to learn how to do that, and we wanted to come in at a time where there were options.
Yes.
Yeah, if you'd come into the world 200 years ago, and you were raised and born to a farmer, you became
were
a
a
farmer.
farmer.
But now we have options, and my father immigrated from Holland and farmed, and I went to law school and became a psychic. You know, I mean, there were options there and I think I think it's an exciting time
Yeah.
to live in. Some real challenges. I mean, certainly some real challenges. Our world is small now. You mentioned Ebola. It's not isolated anymore. You know, if you have a disease somewhere or anything else, it's no longer isolated to that particular area.
Yeah,
And
that's
so
right.
it affects us all. And I personally, not that I think it's good that there are diseases, but I think it's good that we start viewing ourselves as humanity rather than as nationality. And that's, I think, the next challenge that we have in our world is to quit saying, "Oh, you're from Mexico and we're from whatever, and you can't come where we are."
That's a tough.
It's a tough one. It's a tough one. But if like they say, if you look at the Earth from space, there aren't any borders, and Ebola doesn't care. If there are borders, or even if you build a fence.
That's right.
So we're all one. Anyway, that's my thought on that one.
You know, I'll wrap this up if I'm going to use my best communication skills to pull this all together. I see, and Catherine sees also, what she has said, is that the new generation, the younger people, to come forward and really share with their truth and input the society at that time, much as it was, I grew up in the 60s. I'm telling you, it was a gorgeous, gorgeous,
Great
lovely
to
time.
talk about.
We can have that again. There's no question. We don't need, we would really enjoy seeing a new group of people coming up in the metaphysical, spiritual, and holistic community. We have become very, very important in the demographics across the United States of the people, and they're interested in the spiritual, simple things of meditation, which is free. Learn it once, get a mantra or whatever you want, look into a flame, you have it. It costs you nothing, nothing. With that all of that is, and what will you and Echo Bodine be discussing and sharing with the people? And let's, a little background on Echo. I'm sure many thousands know her, but a little bit of background on her would appreciate.
All right. Echo Bodine and I are going to be co-speaking from 3 o'clock to 4:30 on Saturday the 1st. We've done this before. We've done it several times, and I love Echo. She's a brilliant
Presenter?
Brilliant presenter, a kind woman, and a great psychic. And I also am all those things. No, okay, you can edit that out. But I also am a psychic. Echo and I are interesting when we work together because she gets her information in a slightly different fashion than I get my information. And so oftentimes we'll get a question from the audience, and she'll come at it from a different place than I come at it from. We usually end up with the same information.
The perspective.
My information, you could even hear this the way I talk. I get it, everything goes really fast for me. I get hit like a ton of bricks, and I get it right away. And Echo has this beautiful, soft, gentle way she gets her information from angels and her guides, and she stops and listens, and it's very beautiful. And sometimes I barge right in, because my information is coming so fast that I need to get it out right away. So it's interesting for the two of us to work together, and I love it because she'll get little pieces of something and then add to what I have, and vice versa. So what we're going to be doing this year is each person who comes to the event will be given a 3x5 note card, And if they want to, of course they don't have to, they can write a question. And we're asking that they not be personal questions about themselves, but rather that they be questions that are applicable to everyone. So it might be world events, or it might be what's the best way to get a job, or it might be what's happening with the economy, or it might be, are aliens really coming down to the planet? I mean, I don't know. The reason we do this is because we don't know what people necessarily want to hear about. And as you were saying earlier with younger people, I'd love to get a bunch of younger people in. I'd love to know what they're interested in. And psychic surgery, I don't know what they're interested in. And anyway, then people are going to put those, write those out, put them in a box. We'll draw some out. We obviously can't answer all of them, or we'd be there for the entire weekend. So for the next hour and a half, we, Echo and I, will jointly or separately, sometimes she'll say, oh, that's yours. You know, other times I'll say, oh, that's so perfectly yours. And so, or we'll have a joint. So we don't know what we're going to do because we don't know what you want us to do. I only know that we've done it 3 or 4 times, and it's always magic. It's always fun, and it's always funny because we both have senses of humor.
I came up with this idea about 5 years ago, and the point which she has answered it, the synergy that they can create. They work off of each other, and like Catherine said, if there's one that, oof, it's there, she starts, and then Ms. Bodine will come from maybe a little bit different perspective, but you know what? The answer is basically they coincide. It all ends up at the same place. I'm sorry. But
that's exactly right.
That's the synergy. Synergy is a great thing.
So it'll be a lot of fun. The last time we spoke, we filled the house.
We did.
And so get your tickets early.
Yeah, thank you. That's
my
right.
suggestion.
That's right.
Plus, it's your last chance to see me.
That's right. It is. So please join us. Catherine Harwick and Echo Lee Bodine will be there on November 1st at Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center. I think that is, she just had an idea because I picked it up, but you'll be able to hear the question, get the answer on November 1st.
Exactly.
See you there.
Thank
Bye
you.
for now.
On November 1st and 2nd, the Edge Life Expo and Events is coming to the Earl Brown Heritage Center in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota. And they are bringing with them many keynote speakers, including Catherine Harwick in her final public performance. There will also be over 40 speakers, psychics, and so much more. For more information, go to edgelife.net.
My name is Gary Beckman. I'm the producer of the Edge Life Expos. I'll see you at the event.